Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
Yep, it's a pretty gloomy morning actually.
Yeah.
Not raining, but the skies are pretty dark.
Yeah, the rains are coming at night, definitely like what the forecaster told us. So you wake up, some people hear it while they're sleeping. People like me wake up and realize there's been some rain overnight.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a lot to talk about this morning.
Yeah.
And in a similar but not really that similar, I should say, is to the weather, is of course the ongoing situation at the Sleeping Giant. You know, there's been a lot of speculation as to what has been causing these plumes of smoke which have been coming around. This started, of course, a few days ago with the nearby residents raising the alarm, and teams have gone out to investigate what exactly is causing it. You know, there have been a whole lot of different theories, but it's very interesting, and of course, people have even speculated about whether it's some sort of volcanic or seismic activity.
Yeah. We know that the investigation is to take place. It is, of course, in the middle of the Maya Mountains,
Yep.
so it takes a bit of time and effort to get there. Drones have been used, but you really can't see what's happening on the ground from such a high level. But when you look at it, I think the first assumption some people made was maybe forest fire. But with the recent rains, that's been one of the things that some have ruled out. Everything at this point is purely speculation. We know that there are some who have said that it's very unlikely that it's volcanic activity because we don't have we don't have the what do you call it? We don't have volcanoes in that area.
Yeah, I would think normally when an area is volcanic, you know, the makeup of the soil and everything is different, and and so we don't, you know, the makeup of the soil, the minerals, and you know the rock that the mountain is made of, or there tend to be different things. Even though our neighbor to the west, Guatemala, does have volcanoes more inland, much further away than the border with Belize. So it has been ruled so far unlikely that it is something volcanic. But that situation is still ongoing, and we, of course, are going to bring you the results of that investigation when we know more.
Yeah. The word that escaped me was topography, and I know they were talking about things like the soil composition in the area doesn't lead one to believe that it may be volcanic activity. The thing is, though, strange things happen all the time, and we really don't know what the cause of it is. It has to be investigated. There's some theories about it being steam that is being let off, that there's water that's coming in contact with hot rocks underneath the earth. So there's a whole lot of speculation. I know all the science nerds are very keen on trying to figure out what's happening. But the point is that we know that there is an investigation that is going to take place, and we hope to be able to provide a further update. So far, there's been no danger, just the recognition that it is ongoing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you just said that strange things happen all the time. And of course, you know, we all of us are no stranger to that now since the wake of the pandemic. And, you know, I think we're all tired of that phrase, unprecedented times. But on a lighter note, Marlene and I were just talking before the show about the fact that the pandemic or COVID-19 restrictions that have been in place in a lot of countries, particularly the US, have been completely lifted. Not, of course, for the whole country, but certain states, certain cities, and we were taking a look at the Today Show.
Yeah.
And they had returned to having their full live audience, no social distancing. A lot of people weren't wearing masks, and it's something so strange to see after the past, year and a half.
Yeah, I think we all literally just stopped to watch for a moment, recognizing that this is strange. A crowd is strange. I think in watching how, especially in the United States, because we all watch a lot of U.S. media, we're seeing the loosening of restrictions or the removal of restrictions. It reminds us that with the right effort to get vaccinated, and in some cases, I think that's the target that's being used. With the right number of people vaccinated, with the reduction in cases, we can eventually reach that point too. And it is that light at the end of the tunnel that we are all looking at and really anticipating getting to. In Belize, we know we are seeing just a slight increase in cases. We're not talking like a big spike like we have seen previously, but definitely moving up instead of moving downwards. And we did have another death reported yesterday as well. So that's 2 that we've added in this week. And so it just reminds us of the dangers of this disease. And there are multiple ways to protect yourself. Some of them include, of course, being able to sanitize your hands, keeping your social distance, wearing your mask. And the other part is getting your vaccination so that you can be protected, not entirely from the disease, but at the very least protected from the severe form of the disease. So you may not end up with terrible symptoms or end up in a hospital and face the potential of losing your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to recall that the getting vaccinated and even putting the other measures such as social distancing and washing or sanitizing your hands, as Marlene said, it isn't just about protecting yourself, it's also about protecting the greater community. When you do get vaccinated, you significantly lower your chance of contracting COVID in the first place, which means that you have a less chance of spreading it. And you have to recall that at the end of the day, even if you yourself even if you contract COVID and you don't get a serious case, if you do spread it unknowingly, you are putting several other people at risk. We know that with our rates of vaccination so far, we're definitely not in the clear yet. So think about the fact that if you don't get vaccinated and if you don't pay attention to those measures, you may be passing it on to somebody who may get a severe case. Yeah. And of course, we can never ever forget the burden that it could place on our medical system. We don't have a sophisticated system that can handle a huge numbers of COVID. Yeah. Here in Belize, we don't want to see our facilities being overwhelmed, as has happened in other countries, even right next door to us or in our own region. Yeah. We've seen it in both Latin America and in the Caribbean.
Right in Chatham Island.
Right in Chatham Island across the border. We've seen cases where hospitals are crowded, people can't get beds, people can't access treatment, and we don't want that here. So we say it all the time on the show, but the message, we can't say it enough. Please practice the proper protocols as it relates to COVID-19 and get vaccinated if you are eligible.
Yeah, and if you feel sick, if you have any of the symptoms that are associated with COVID-19, then isolate yourself and contact the Ministry of Health about how you can get tested. Because I think we've been kind of in a period where there were very little cases. We get the sniffles and we say, oh, it's allergies, or we get a bit of fever and we think it's something else. It still is a time where there are active cases in the country, 145 that are detected, not necessarily only 145 cases out there. So we must keep that in mind as we move forward. As there are actually 5 people who are hospitalized at this time, you can see from the numbers there, and 5 new cases, but notice there's still 279 under investigation. So those are probably close contact cases that have to be tested as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things that we've been seeing over the past few weeks is that, so we've probably seen pictures or videos on social media of something of people being kind of lax, and it's definitely not the time to to put your guard down. So we've seen people at social events or even just not practicing the proper protocols, even if they are out in public, which is always worrying. And it's been an issue since the beginning of the pandemic. But think about where we were just a few months ago. We don't want to return there to where we were in November, December, January of last year. So we'll say it again, get vaccinated, and even if you are vaccinated, still practice the proper COVID-19 safety protocols.
All right. So that's the reminder for today. Of course, we'll have another update for you on the sleeping giant suspicious smoke that's coming out from there, and let you know whether or not the authorities have gotten close enough to do more investigation and what those indicators are. And as for COVID-19, we do know that the vaccination sites are open. We just received a new batch of AstraZeneca vaccines, and so the current phases that are open are phases 1, 2, and 3. And so you can be able to contact the Ministry of Health or go to one of the clinics or one of the vaccination sites and get vaccinated. What's been interesting, too, is seeing how the private sector is assisting in incentivizing vaccination. In I think it's Orange Walk, there's a discount on your tax if you present your COVID-19 vaccine paper that you get, and your vaccination card, I should say. In Belize City, I know that the church has put together, St. Martin's Church has put together a raffle, so you can enter the raffle once you fill it out with your vaccination information. And the prizes, they're like multiple prizes that you can win, $500 as one of them. And it's very common. We've seen it in other parts of the world too, where the private sector kind of steps in to try to help to incentivize people to go out and get vaccinated. So, there are other perks you can take advantage of too if you do choose to get vaccinated.
Oh yeah, so that's definitely something that even if you were skeptical beforehand, that you can think about as well.
Yeah.
But of course, think about, again, lowering the risk for yourself and other people, and go out and get vaccinated if you are eligible.
All right, but it is time for us to get moving into our show for today, and it's time for some motivation. So let's check in with our eye opener. Our eye opener is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. Common sense, while not always officially rewarded, has its own special genius. We human beings have many ways of knowing what we need to know in order to get through our lives. One way of knowing things is to engage in a course of study in an academic environment. Another way of knowing things is simply to go through the experiences that come our way, making a conscious effort to learn from them. A third way in which people gain knowledge is through the vehicle of intuition, a gift some have more than others, but which can be developed in anyone. Even though in a given time or place, certain types of intelligence tend to be valued more than others, no way of knowing is inherently better than another. Once we understand this, we can value our own intelligence, as well as the different intelligences of the people we encounter. Sometimes, just understanding that we're coming at the same issue in different ways helps us to avoid an unnecessary conflict. When we value all ways of knowing equally, we benefit not only from what we have learned and how we have learned it, but from all the other forms of intelligence we are open to honoring.
Yeah, that's a great eye-opener, and it's a great reminder, and I think it's absolutely true. I think that everybody has their own talents and their own unique perspective. And if we're open to sort of embracing that, then it leads you, you can only enrich your life when you are open to seeing other people's perspectives and learning from it. And you can't think that, there's only one way of doing something, or that, there's one right way. And it actually reminds me of something that happened to me in high school. Well, it didn't happen to me, but it's just a memory that, I don't know, do we remember, from math class when you had sequences, and, which is basically like a pattern of things that happen. So, either it's like, you add 2 to every number, so they'll give you a series of numbers, and you have to figure out what the pattern is. And I remember, a guy in my class had, they had asked him for the answer to this question, and he gave the answer, and it wasn't the right one, but he, he rationalized it perfectly, and he found a pattern that, nobody else saw, or somebody else wasn't there. And of course, if you had written that on a test, you'd have technically got it wrong, but it really wasn't, it wasn't wrong. And it was just a different way, and nobody else had seen it. And it also reminds me of, there are certain software companies that they say that if you're able to hack their system, rather than going after you or trying to hurt you, they're going to offer you a job, because they figure that you're finding the holes in the system. And I think that this is kind of what this eye opener is getting at. So that some people have academic knowledge, or some people are very talented in one way, but there's ways and there's other perspectives that that are there to appreciate as well.
Yeah. For me, it just boils down to one thing. It's recognizing the strengths that people have when they all come to the table. It's very often that we kind of fixate ourselves with what social norms are. The achievements are tied to whether it's academic excellence, or perhaps public proof that you have been successful in some way, shape, or form. But so often we interact with people in all walks of life who are exceptionally talented and smart in one specific area or multiple areas. Sometimes we call it street smart. Like, some people are just really great at being able to make a living. It could be they're great talkers. There are tons of different talents and skills that people have. What we must learn to do, and also check ourselves with how we judge people, is that we don't tie them to specific markers that, okay, they didn't finish primary school, so that means they must not be intelligent. I kid you not. They definitely can be accomplished, have greater accomplishments than some PhD level people. And in fact, there are success stories all over the world where this has happened. So it's a matter of being able to recognize it and acknowledge it, and also try and being sure to check the judgment that we have, because society has kind of told us this is what you should look for.
Yeah, and I think that we've probably all, after having had enough experience, we know that even if you are somebody who's very, let's say, academically gifted, those persons who get the best test scores and whatever, they're not necessarily the people who are always the most successful in life, because while they may be able to be great at taking tests and exams, they lack other skills. Maybe they're not able to get along with people well, or they lack certain other forms of intelligence, which leads them to conflict, or it doesn't enable them to do really well at whatever it is. And I think it's just recognizing that you can't just place too much value on that one type of intelligence, because the more well-rounded you are, the better. And the only way you can do that is being open to all different types of knowledge and experience. And
complementing each other, because you can have somebody who's fantastic at understanding the theory, and someone else can help in converting it into something more practical. So it really can complement each other. It's interesting that you talk about that, because we know now that even within the school systems, there's a whole look at how do you help students develop what they call soft skills, but really they're part of an integral life skill. How you work along with others, how you communicate with others. And so these are all things that now we start to recognize are equally important to what you may learn from the books itself. But that's the eye-opener for this morning. We got to get moving into our weather, and we have Francisca Wellington on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
You're good.
All right. So tell us about our weather for today.
Okay, well, after all that action last night, we should see a little lull during the course of today. So we'll see cloudy skies and isolated showers or isolated thunderstorms. That will occur mainly inland this afternoon due to heating. But later tonight, we'll continue to see cloudy skies and we'll see an increase in shower activity again across the country.
Okay. And what about our winds?
Okay, so we'll see winds out of the east, southeast, 10 to 20 knots, and higher gusts at times. So that will support moderate to rough seas, and we have a small craft caution in effect at this time.
Okay, any other advisories or watches?
Yes, we still have a flood watch for areas of low lying, and we also have, like I mentioned already, the small craft caution.
Okay, and let's talk about the temperatures. What high temperatures can we expect for today?
Okay, along the coast we're seeing 88 Fahrenheit, inland 92, and the Maya Mountains 82. And then overnight temperatures we're seeing 81 along the coast, 75 inland, and 68 up in the Maya Mountains.
All right, and tell us about our extended forecast as we head into Friday and the rest of the weekend.
Okay, so Friday we'll see a few showers and isolated thunderstorms around the country during the daytime, and then we'll see a decrease Friday night. So we're looking to drier conditions over the weekend.
All right, well that sounds like a little bit of good news. Yeah. All right, well, our hurricane watch, is there anything that we're looking at in the greater sort of area?
Okay, it's just that area near the Bay of Campeche. They are still saying that they have a very high chance of tropical depression forming within the next 48 hours. So it's up to 90% now.
Oh, okay. Well, we gotta watch that one.
Elsewhere, we don't see any formation at this time.
All right. Well, Francisca, thank you so much for that update.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
Thanks, and same to you guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yep, there you have it. So it's still going to be it's still going to have a little bit more rain, but hopefully that will decrease a little bit by the time the weekend comes around.
Yeah, and we definitely want to pay attention to those watches. So there is a flood watch for the possibility of flooding in low-lying areas. And also, there's going to be some gusty winds coming in as well. So people who are heading out to sea do want to take some extra caution when they do head out to sea, if they choose to today.
You know, it seems like we haven't had enough time in enjoying the dry season. Because I was just thinking how long we haven't given a flood warning, and it's only been like a few months.
Yeah. Well, I didn't feel that way. What was it, a month ago when we had those extremely hot days?
Yeah.
So, yeah. You see how easily we forget them?
Yep.
All right, but we got to get moving into our show for today. And our first conversation for this morning, one of the things that has taken place in the midst of the pandemic is that a lot of people, while they were staying at home and social distancing, they weren't accessing health care. And specifically, parents weren't taking children to the doctor or following up with checkups or getting vaccinations. So this morning we're going to put it into perspective, and we have a pediatrician joining us to talk about why it is important and how you can catch up at this point.
And secondly, we are going to learn all about a Belizean-owned production company that specializes in making films. And we are going to be speaking to some of the people behind that and learning all about what they do.
All right, and International Day of Yoga is coming up on June 20th. And so we have Michelle Williams of Shanti, Belize, who's going to be telling us all about the commemoration of International Yoga Day and how they're going to be celebrating.
So that's going to be our show for this morning. And we are going to be taking a short break right now. And when we come back, we'll be joined by a pediatrician to talk all about the importance of vaccines. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back after the break.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Es un hecho. Únicamente con Smart obtienes todo realmente ilimitado. Solo con Smart obtienes datos ilimitados en cualquier momento. Mientras que con el otro proveedor solo son datos dobles los fines de semana. Con datos ilimitados todos los días no hay necesidad de esperar, así que es un hecho que nuestros planes ilimitados superan a la competencia. Por lo tanto, no permita que le digan cómo y cuándo usar sus datos y obtenga llamadas, mensajes de texto y datos ilimitados. Vive la verdadera experiencia de planes ilimitados con Smart. Es un hecho. Haga el cambio y viva Smart.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we are back. And if you're joining us right now, we're getting our first conversation for this morning started. And as we said before the break, we are talking about vaccines, but not necessarily the COVID-19 vaccine, which has been getting most of the attention recently. We're talking about vaccines for children. And here to join us for this discussion this morning is Dr. Victor Rosado, who is a pediatrician at the Belize Medical Associates. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, Gavin. Good morning, Marlene.
And thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Of course, this is a very important conversation and message which we have to talk about this morning. Now, when we talk about vaccines or vaccinations for children, we are talking about a number of different ones. But let's start by talking, I think, about the importance of vaccines for children generally, and why they're necessary to give children.
Well, Gavin, vaccines is definitely one of the great successes of science during our lifetime. All right, so vaccines and its importance and its benefits and its risks has been in the forefront of our discussion for the past months. But we have evidence. We are being giving vaccines for some time now. And primarily, most of the vaccines are given in the first year of life. So over the last 20 years, a few other vaccines have been added. But traditionally, they have been TB, polio, diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough. We give those vaccines what we would call routinely. Sometimes we, at the clinic, BCG is given sometimes at birth at the hospital. And proof that these vaccines work is that you don't readily see people with polio, you don't tetanus anymore. So these vaccines work. They work. We've attained herd immunity. That concept of herd immunity is that over 90% of the people are vaccinated against TB. They're vaccinated against polio. And so that's why we don't see them.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting when you say that, because as we have a wider conversation about the COVID-19 vaccine and the hesitation that some people have been having in getting the vaccine, we only have to look back at our experience with our children and the level of protection that they've been able to get with those early vaccines. Now, when you encounter parents who are perhaps hesitant about vaccines, what do you tell them to try to help them make that decision? Because I think that'll be so fitting for those who are considering COVID-19 vaccines as well.
So prior to COVID-19, we already had vaccine hesitancy. We already had that movement that we refer to as anti-vaxxers. Mm-hmm. And we as pediatricians are the specialty in medicine that do most of the vaccination. And so what we would say is, again, I repeat myself, is that vaccines, there is proof that vaccines work. Mm-hmm. But if 90% of the population is vaccinated, 95% against a certain disease, like let's say polio, and you're an anti-vaxxer in the 5%, then in effect what you're doing is you're riding the wave of the 95%. So the risk of you getting polio is still very minimal. Okay. But there's a critical point. Once we go beyond, we see outbreaks in polio and whooping cough in areas where vaccination falls below that critical point. So you see whooping cough or measles outbreak in communities where vaccination percentages have fallen below, let's say, 70% or 60%, then there will be an outbreak.
Yeah.
And so we really try to impress on parents that vaccines are important, that they need to vaccinate their children because it's a public health good. It's really being an anti-vaxxer is kind of selfish.
It's hard to imagine, but it was just in 2019 where we were on heightened alert for measles. There were cases in the US and there were cases just in the neighboring countries. And so I understand what you're saying, that with people not accessing vaccines, you see the reemergence of diseases that we had under control. Since the pandemic, though, Dr. Rosado, one of the things that I know has been noted by the Ministry of Health is that our very outstanding track record for childhood immunization, the numbers are starting to go down. We had extremely good coverage of children getting vaccinated within those early years, and for some reason, people haven't been following up. Have you seen the same?
Of course, that is a worldwide trend, Marlene, and that is the main objective of my presentation this morning, is to send out the warning that during the lockdown, worldwide vaccination rates fell in terms of diphtheria, tetanus, and whooping cough. It fell by 40%. Other vaccinations, campaigns like HPV, which was already struggling, fell by 60%, 70% worldwide. There was a move to eradicate polio, and that has been set back by the pandemic, maybe another 10 years. And so in Belize, bringing it home, people were hesitant because people were not coming out. There was a national lockdown, and people were afraid of going to their clinics, were afraid of going to their pediatricians to take their children to get vaccinated. But now that the numbers are a little better, we know a little bit more about the virus. We have better access to masks. We are being vaccinated, at least the adults. And so now is the time to catch up. Definitely, we don't have the exact statistics of how we fell behind in terms of vaccination rates, but there is no doubt that we have fallen behind in terms of vaccination rates. And you are right that we were in a good position. We had coverage for measles, for TB, for Tdap above 90%, sometimes above 97%. And again, that's why we didn't see a high prevalence of these diseases, but definitely the pandemic has affected those rates, and you can catch up. So if you had 2 doses of Tdap and you didn't bring your child for the 3rd dose, now is the time to bring them. Yeah. Our health system has been strained. A lot of the public health nurses are the same ones who are doing surveillance and COVID testing, but that should not be an excuse for us as parents not to take our children to get vaccinated.
No, there are some who will watch it and say, okay, well, I didn't vaccinate my children and they didn't get any of these diseases they were supposed to be protected from. How do you respond to that? Again,
like I said, tetanus, polio, TB, they're not very prevalent diseases, and so because you hadn't vaccinated your children in a year won't mean that next month they will get TB. But this is a public health measure. We need to have above a certain percentage of the population vaccinated for it to work. Yeah. And so obviously we don't want to take the risk. We see it, like you said, in neighboring countries. Mexico had 196 cases of measles last year. Wow. Measles is a highly contagious disease. The percentage necessary for herd immunity in measles is 93%. So because of the degree of contagiousness. And so really the fact that it hasn't happened is not proof that it won't. It's not justification to say, well, my child doesn't need the 3rd dose of polio or of DPT. That's definitely not the way to go. We want to go back to the high numbers, to the above 90% of coverage for these childhood immunizations. Yeah.
Well, I would think that your child, that them not getting it would be proof that the vaccines work, given that the diseases aren't prevalent anymore. But
that's my point. That's my point, Gavin. Yes. Yeah.
But you had said earlier that most childhood vaccines are taken within the 1st year of life. And perhaps you can give sort of an idea of what that year looks like in terms of when vaccine, or when it becomes necessary to take, your child or your baby in for your 1st round, and what are the types of vaccines that are received during that 1st year.
So now we're all becoming vaccine experts. We know about immunogenicity and why we need a 2nd dose and we may need a booster. So those concepts are becoming more and more common. In the 1st year of life, vaccines are very important for many different reasons, but primarily because babies are born with a relatively naive immune system, and so we need to give antigens of these viruses and bacteria to help their immune system build antibodies. There is a worldwide standard schedule. It's usually at birth, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. Some countries have a 9-month measles. In Belize, we do a 1-year measles and a 2-year booster or 4-year booster sometimes. And so usually it's 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, and then we do 1 year and 4 years boosters. What booster really means is it's the same vaccines that we are giving again to take up your level of antibodies to 90%, 95%.
Yeah. Now, if someone has if a parent has not been able to take their child in for, let's say, their booster, is it, is there a time where it becomes too late, or is there still enough time for them to come in and get the booster?
Well, definitely there is enough time. So maybe you've missed a year, and so you can do what we call catch up. If your child only has 2 doses of Tdap or polio, then his level of immunity is not adequate. He needs the 3rd dose, and then depending on what age the child is, needs a booster shot. Yeah. We usually do booster shots 3 years, 4 years, 4 years, because that's when traditionally children were going into school, and so being in an environment where they would be exposed to other children, that's when you wanted to boost up their immunity. So that's when we do the booster shots. But definitely you can do what we call catch up. It's not like we have to start all over again. You go in, discuss with your public health nurse or with your doctor or your pediatrician, and they will give the immunizations that are remaining.
Yeah.
And another thing that we often talk about when it comes to vaccines are side effects, and that's even been one of the fears that has been associated with the COVID-19 vaccine, but also with some of the childhood ones. And one of the biggest factors, let's say, behind the anti-vax movement is this alleged, or which I can safely say I think has been debunked, but alleged link between taking vaccines and things like developing autism and stuff like that. So can you speak to some of those concerns that people have nowadays?
Of course, Gavin, that has really put a strain on vaccine uptake in that movement, and you are right in that it has been debunked. The author of that study was a British doctor who claimed that there was a link between MMR and autism. It has since been found out that his numbers he had cooked his numbers, and he was even disbarred from the Medical Association in the UK. But the damage was already done. And so people held on to that as a possible cause of autism. We can only counter that argument with the science, Gavin, that vaccinations work, that there has been no proven scientific link between vaccinations and autism. Yes, vaccinations will have some side effects. Yes, we're trying to, more and more vaccinations are being added to the immunization scheme. Yeah. But in Belize, we still have a way to go. Our scheme does not include certain childhood immunizations like Prevnar, rotavirus, human papillomavirus. So our scheme is basic. It includes diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, Haemophilus influenza type B, which is a meningitis shot. So we try to convince parents one by one that the links and side effects, links to autism is really has not been proven, and side effects are minimal. The benefits, it's always a risk benefit analysis, and the benefits far outweigh the risks when it comes to vaccines.
Yeah. Dr. Rosado, what is your concern? A part of what has been helpful in the past year is that we are socially distant, so the interaction outside of your own immediate family is very limited. What's the concern if we can't get the immunization back on track and children go back to school and start interacting?
Well, the results can be catastrophic, Marlene. Like I said, we see outbreaks we've seen diphtheria in Dominican Republic, we've seen diphtheria in Haiti, we've seen polio and whooping cough outbreaks in certain South American countries. And so we are not immune to that. We need to immunize our children. We don't want to take the risk. So, like I said, my message to parents out there is take your child to the health center, take your child to his or her pediatrician, so that you can have this discussion, look at the cards, make sure your child gets immunized. Yeah. We have been talking about COVID for a year and a half, but COVID is not near the severity of polio, of tetanus, of diphtheria. So the mortality in children, let's compare. The mortality in children for COVID is about 2 in a million. The mortality for tetanus is 70%. The mortality in polio is upward of 50%. So these diseases are really what you would call deadly diseases. So they're not to play with.
Yeah, yeah. Let's take a moment to expand beyond vaccinations as well. What about things like ensuring that your child gets a checkup? They haven't been to the doctors. As adults, we're not going to access healthcare as often just because we've, had fears about going into healthcare institutions. Have you found the same in your practice?
That's a really another interesting area, Marlene. We've seen children coming now having missed their yearly checkup with nutritional problems. So the three main things that the pandemic has caused on children is nutritional problems, mental health disorders, and of course access to learning and to exercise. So we've seen children coming that either they haven't gained weight in the last year, or we have some children on the other extreme who have gained 30, 40 pounds in 1 year.
What?
So, yes, because they're not going to school. So if a 5-year-old is not going to school under a lockdown, what does he or she do? Sits in front of the laptop, no exercise, eating snacks. So those are the results of the pandemic that have not been documented as yet. Not only fall in immunization rates, but we're going to see obesity, we're going to see malnourished children. We aren't starting to scratch the surface when it comes to mental health disorders, stress and anxiety among teenagers. We have not documented that yet, but other countries and as pediatricians, we know that there has been a dramatic rise in the number of cases.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because you see children, and we don't often think of mental illness with especially pre-adolescent or adolescent children. We think of older teenagers who are high school age. But do you see sometimes mental health challenges with children who are younger as well?
Of course, we're seeing anxiety in children who between 5 and 10 years. So other behavioral issues. This pandemic has turned upside down so many things. The normal environment that a child is accustomed to, going to school, having access to his friends, daily exercise, all those things were taken away, and they were not taken away for 2 weeks like we had anticipated. They've been taken away for a year. And so the results of that has not been documented, but but definitely it has had dramatic results on our children's health.
And what about all the extra screen time that they're getting?
Well, that results in obesity. That results in and all the related effects of nutritional issues.
Yeah.
And so that brings the importance of trying to get back to normalcy, opening up the schools, even when we open schools. And yes, it's important to social distance and to do all the measures in the school that the public health authorities have implemented. But exercise is important. Having children, we may need to change certain rules in the school. We may need to do PE 3 times a week so that we can recover, so that we can gain back some of the grounds. If your child has gained 20 pounds, it's not to say that there cannot be some recovery, but we really need to work at it. It won't happen on its own.
Yeah.
And just speaking back on the topic of vaccine hesitancy, just going back and tracking a little bit, we do have a question from a viewer, which maybe you can address. And Daisy Ford asks, how about people from certain churches or other religious backgrounds who are hesitant to take vaccines due to their religious beliefs? Is that something that you've also had to encounter and deal with? And if you have any sort of advice or reaction to that?
When it comes to hesitancy due to religious beliefs, to counter religious belief is very difficult from a scientific point of view, because they will always they're arguing from a non-scientific point of view. But most vaccines are not prepared from. I know this comes from vaccines using aborted fetal tissue. That was done like 40, 50 years ago. No vaccines are produced in a lab, genetically prepared. And so I think that argument that vaccines are being produced using tissue from aborted fetuses is something that's floating around there, but we don't believe that is the case in a very small percentage of vaccines a long time ago. Yeah. Vaccines that are being prepared today are scientifically sound, they're genetically prepared, and are very, very, very safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the key part, as we've spoken about vaccinations in general, is just that people take the time to do the research and from accurate sources as well. To find the information that will either allay their fears or correct perhaps misinformation that they've been provided. Let me ask about another issue. One of the things that we know pediatricians are very good at helping parents with is helping to identify early signs of developmental issues, maybe in learning or in physical development or in some sort, or in mental development. And oftentimes that's linked to the relationship between the child and teacher, the child and parent, and then the doctor kind of helps to recognize those milestones. Without having annual checkups and without the children having direct contact with teachers, are you concerned that we may be missing some very critical early detection and developmental disorders?
Of course, in that field, we have improved a lot in the last 5 years in terms of evaluating children with developmental disorders. I think that people are bringing their children for checkup in that field a lot more frequently. on the news, we're seeing organizations working with children with autism. We have access to more professionals, childhood psychologists, counselors, psychiatrists. And so definitely we will see a rise in the numbers, but we really don't know if it's a true rise or people are accessing the services more.
Yeah.
Definitely what you're saying is that we may miss some of these cases and maybe catch them later on. But my message to parents is, if you see your child 2 years and not having adequate speech development, if you're seeing behavioral issues, if you're seeing too much temper tantrums, if you have the doubt, now is the time to access care. Because like I said, we're emerging. We're definitely not in a position where we were in December, in January. And so our numbers are low. Now is the time. We're not sure about a third wave. We're trying to prevent it. But now is the time. Take your child to the pediatrician. Take your child to the health center. Have their weight checked. Have their immunization status checked. If you have concerns about developmental issues, then you can bring that up as well. I think more and more, like I said, not only pediatricians, but child counselors and psychologists are more readily available at least in the city.
Yes.
But I think that even in the districts, that these services are becoming more available to parents.
Yeah. And just one more question. I have two more questions, actually. The first is about looking at, we talked about immunization from the point of view of vaccinations. But there's also, you know, I know there's always a cycle as to when children get sick. You know, they go back to school, you start to see the pink eye, you start to see the gastroenteritis, and you see other childhood illnesses that are very common. Is there any effect with the children being separated, not getting their immune system built up during this time?
Starting to sound like a public health specialist, Marlene. But that's scientifically sound. That's a conclusion. So kids, whenever they are put in an environment like a playground or a school, they share toys, they share food, and they also share bacteria and viruses. So they start getting more sick in September when school starts. They start getting more respiratory tract infections in January when the weather changes a bit, and once a child sneezes in a classroom, then what do you think will happen with the children who are at the same desk with him? So you are right, that is a cycle. And so because we've been wearing masks, because we've been at home for a year and a half, yes, this September when children go back to school, there will be an anticipation that childhood respiratory tract infections or gastrointestinal infections may rise. So that we need to prepare for that as well. You are right.
And the last question, of course, takes us back to the pandemic that we're in and what the latest data is saying about effects of COVID on children. We know the Brazilian strain, and in Brazil, they have reported children being severely affected by COVID-19. We've not detected that strain in Belize. I want to be very clear about that. But what's the latest data saying, and your thoughts on eventually having children in Belize vaccinated for COVID-19?
I was anticipating that one. So the latest strain, they've started using Delta as the name of the latest strain. It's definitely more contagious. It's that was the strain I identified in the India outbreak. Not only is it more contagious, but you are right, it affects children more, which brings us to the question, will we advocate for children getting the vaccination? one of the good things about this pandemic, Marlene, is our access to information. Never before did we, as healthcare providers, let's say in Belize, have access to real-time information. And I think never before have we been studying and reading journals on a daily basis, at least for me. We're reading the results from the New England Journal of Medicine and the Lancet as they come out on a daily basis. And so when it comes to childhood immunizations for COVID, the jury on that has not been decided as yet. Again, it goes back to what is the risk and the benefit analysis. So for children, they have been up to now less affected than adults. Their mortality is far less. And so there is still some debate, is it worth vaccinating children? Because our population in Belize, 40% of our population is less than 18 years old, then we'll have to take a public health decision, because if we don't vaccinate, let's say 12 to 18, it will be very difficult for us to attain herd immunity. And so we'd have to separate it and say 12 to 18, at least in the US, we have some data now that we can analyze. Under 12, really, worldwide, there have been very little studies, and so we have to go on the scientific data. One of the benefits that we have is that if we lag behind 2 or 3 months, then we can make our decisions based on what has been happening in some of the other countries. But definitely, to give you a straight answer is difficult. We need to look at the science in terms of vaccinating children against COVID. That has not been fully decided as yet.
Okay. All right. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts to most parents out there, that the way we are as a country today, there is hope. Our numbers, while they're inching up, they're still low. My advice is take your child to his or her either health center or pediatrician, have a checkup. It's been a very stressful year and a half, but now is the time to, just like how we as adults take care of ourselves and do a yearly checkup, children need the same.
That's right.
So take them to their health centers. I know the public health nurses are strained because they've been asked to do vaccinations, do surveillance. And so some of the services have been temporarily suspended, but like I said, now is the time that we have a little lull to access healthcare and to take our children to the health center to get their annual checkup. That is very, very important, Marlene.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you for joining us and allowing us to understand a bit more of the risks associated with delaying the vaccination of your children. These diseases, thankfully, are not currently present, but that doesn't mean that there isn't the potential threat. Thank you, Dr. Rosado.
Thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Gavin.
Okay. And with that, we are going to be taking a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking all about a Belizean-owned film production company. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime. While with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
With the touch of a finger, we can easily unlock our phones and securely gain access to our data. This technology is called biometrics, and the Social Security Board is introducing fingerprint recognition to make transactions and handling of your sensitive data secure, fast, accurate, and convenient. Is your identity safe? Fingerprint recognition will keep your Social Security record secure and confidential while making your access fast and easy. It protects your identity. Is your name a common one? Fingerprint recognition uses your unique characteristics, ensuring your hard-earned benefits go directly to you, the rightful owner. Tired of all the paperwork? Fingerprinting makes this hassle-free. Your convenience and your information security is our priority. Fingerprint recognition coming soon. Social Security at your fingertips.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
And we are back, and we're moving into our second conversation for today, where we are joined by the co-owner of Belize Wood, or is it BZE Wood?
It's pronounced Beeswood.
Beeswood.
Yeah.
Roy Turner.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, Beeswood is a production company, and you have been in the business for how long? Tell us all about the start of it.
Okay, so 3 years, 12 years prior to get to this point. But the 3 years have been a journey, a very interesting journey.
How so?
Well, prior to watching what's on television, Channel 5 and others, I thought that we were at a point where movies would be coming out of Belize and, as my slogan said, going to Hollywood. That wasn't the case, because there was a lot of portal that were missing, you know. And you would meet people that have great intentions, but for whatever reason, they got derailed along the way by false expectations and false promises. So when I saw that, I knew that I had to come with what Roy Turner knows, and that's an example. And I believe that we're at a point where people are really recognizing that my hard work is paying off, and they're seeing that it's not a gimmick, it's not a quick fix, it's more of a permanent, and hopefully this will go on for the rest of our life and our, you know.
So let's take us back to the beginning of how it all started, when you actually took the first step.
Well, I got a lot of encouragement from other filmmakers in LA. The Smith brothers, they were doing some movies, but I always thought a collaboration would be the ingredient for us. It wasn't that case at all, because it's a very segregated journey. You know, you talk because you have intentions, and then you get put aside because maybe your goals are not as equal as theirs. Great tool for me. But the journey shouldn't have been that way. It should have been where another Belizean was excited about this, because I've been in the industry, around the industry, for God knows, 40 years. I was actually a part of Dogs of War. I did the entire movie here in Belize, and we went abroad. I was a part of it, and I met the Christopher Walkers and Tom Berringers and all the rest of the stuff. So I've been in it, but as a parent first, I had to put my passion aside. But I worked at every studio in California, Warner Brothers, Fox, everyone. And I worked there not as a industry person, as a security guard, just to see, you know, who I'd meet. And I realized that the industry is a very closely knit family. You know, you can't get into it. I've been asked to come into it, but that's not something I wanted to do. I wanted to do something for Belize, you know. And to answer your question more in depth, 6 years ago, I came to do my research, and I met a lot of people. The first person I met, which I had to meet, was you know, Gillen Rowland. Gillen Rowland, an actor, you saw him in Tragic Jungle, and he paved a wonderful way for me. He had me meet a lot of interesting people. My business partner, Tyreek Young, is part of Beeswood. He's a CEO. So without Gillen, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, because he showed me some ropes that I needed to have seen, you know. So that was very interesting.
Now, there's been interest in filming in Belize. International crews come, and maybe they do, I mean, it could be anything from documentaries to actual films. But getting the ball rolling on the film industry locally has been a struggle, and not for lack of trying. You know, we have our film festival, and there are pieces that come out here or there. What do you find to be the challenge, and what makes you think that Beeswood will be able to overcome them?
Well, we've overcome it, first of all. And the challenge is trust. People don't trust the journey, and the journey is lengthy, and it's being persistent, you know, and believing in what we have to tell the world. Belize has hundreds of stories. We have some iconic people, like I say in my commercial, that they need to tell their story, you know, and no one's giving them a chance to. And the funding is not the problem, you know, it's the belief in the journey. We all need money to do these things, of course, and it's not as expensive as people think it is, you know. My team, my company, we are going to put out at least a minimum of 3 movies a year. Minimum, along with television shows, and hopefully collaborate with other people who want to do the same thing, you know. We're not about self, and I told that to my team. We're about, if Channel 5 wants to talk to Beeswood, they can, you know, and so forth and so on. So people don't understand that it's years, and you have to work hard, and you have to believe in the process, and you can't go around thinking that you're it because you've made a commercial. That's the worst thing you can do. You have to be humble to the cause. You know, you got to be humble and trust that people believe in you, and they'll join you. And it took me years for people to believe, you know, and some still don't believe, but now they're seeing that my hard work is what's making this happen, you know. And a side story that a lot of people don't know, and I want to let them know this, is I work hard in the States. I work hard to pay my team to believe in the passion that they now believe in. And when they hear that and stuff, and I see them now, it's a thank you. You know, it's appreciation, and these guys are the foundation of what's going to make it better for those who wants to come on board, and we encourage that. One thing I want to say, and I want you to understand this, is the movie industry around the world, last year, even during the pandemic, they made $100 billion. $100 billion.
Yeah.
Why can't we in Belize make one?
And you know, you said several things that I want to pick up on. The first one is talking about talent. Very often, we recently had a movie premiere on Netflix where we saw Belizean actors in our own jungle being featured.
Yeah.
You know, that was a wonderful time for us to be able to see that it is possible. But very often people say, well, we don't have maybe the talent that is necessary, or, you know, you don't have actors who are growing up and going to film school. You don't have people who maybe have the knowledge of how to use the equipment. What have you found, and how did you, I mean, is this an obstacle or something that we're self-imposing?
Self-exposing is it. We have a lot of talented people here. And it's important. The thing about it is that in Belize, you have to work, unfortunately, as something else before you become an actor. You know, you have to. What we're doing is changing that, because everyone that works will eventually work with us. And it's going to take about another year or so. We'll work consistently as production, as actors, as camera guys. We have a fantastic program right now that's being run by my business partner, Tariq, that we actually have people that are going through the grip and electrical and lighting and editing and stuff and screenwriting. I personally teach screenwriting myself, and I pay for this. So the industry is changing, and we will show everyone that it's not that big of a deal, you know. I think we're about be honest with you, about 3 years away, perfectly honest with you, about 3 years away for this to become an industry in Belize, you know, because I've spoken to investors and I've spoken to people who are saying, wow, you're actually doing this with your money? You say, well, you know, we want to come on board. To hear that is very encouraging, because I believe that they wanted to see who would have taken the first reign of this wild horse. And I'm proud to say that I can't say me, I'm not a me guy, that we have, you know. I have my business partner, Melissa Arnold, in LA. We have a great team of people, and we're meeting people like yourself. Thank you, by the way, for having me come here. But we are making some strides, and I'm excited about it.
And, you know, speaking of your own work, or perhaps even just the work of Beeswood in general, I mean, how involved in the whole production process do you get? Because it's such a multifaceted thing, from, you know, camera work, editing, scripts, acting, coaching the actors, if whoever you're working with. What's your role?
Well, God, that's a good question. So, as you see in the clip of our upcoming project, Countryman. Now, there's a story behind this, and I want to share with you. So, it's hard to convince people that there's talent from the get-go. Mm-hmm. This particular episodic piece that you're seeing took me 50 minutes to write. Wow. And I wrote it in front of a couple guys in LA. But it started with an idea between Gildan and myself, and I said, you know, let's talk about what's happening in our country, Belize. Yeah. And it took from writing it to get it to Tyreek to, it doesn't take long, and people don't realize that if you put your best foot forward to get a script written and get it to the right people, it doesn't take long at all. From pre-production to post-production, it will take maybe, depends on what it is and the funds available. Something like this can take you maybe a month to do. 1 month. Yes. Done. Yeah. Now, a feature, on the other hand, is a little bit longer because you have to go and write the script and get the script to your team, and then, of course, start casting and then have rehearsal and make sure you find locations and everything else. And one thing I can say, which I'm very proud of, is that everyone that I've met, from the Hopkins Bay to the Princess Hotel to the Biltmore Hotel, everybody's on board. Yeah. And they are full of warmth. Yeah. And the cost that they've given me to accommodate and so forth. And of course, there's other people I can't mention right now, other places, but everybody's on board. But it took me 10 years to get to this point, by the way. 10 years of telling them that I'm going to do this, and they finally believe.
Now, the importance of being able to share Belizean stories is what we lose out on if we can't get, or because we've struggled to kind of get the industry going. The opportunity that comes now is being able to showcase to the world many different aspects of life in Belize. For you, what was that first story that, you know, growing up, knowing Belize, being here, that you said you'd love for the rest of the world to see this part of us?
My journey was different because I left Belize at age 5, and I went to England for 10 years. I came back for about 6 years and went to to the States for 30-some years. But what started for me was when my cousins used to take me around and Punta Gorda and other places, and I always had this beautiful image of how Belize was. And when I came back 12 years ago, it hadn't changed. You know, there was modern building, but there was Belize that I knew, you know. And I've always had a passion, like I mentioned earlier, about writing and telling stories. And when I went to Hopkins and Placencia, and I'm driving around and I'm looking, I said, I got to do this, you know. So that was my motivation, because I've never been a part of my country, but I've always had the motivation to give back, you know. So we have, God, like 100 and some stories that are not even part of what my business partner have and part of what people might bring on board. I mean, we're going to be working consistently, and Belize is beautiful. I'm not even talking about the Keys, and we have Kikaka, we have San Pedro Keys, we have all these different places, and that the world needs to see. I'm being very honest, and Belize is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
And have you, you spoke about, people you approach being on board with the process, but what other sort of, feedback and stuff do you get when people watch some of the films that you actually do produce?
Well, the producing side goes to Tyreek. Okay. He does that. He's a master of that, and I know you guys probably do know Tyreek Young.
Yes.
So I leave that alone. What I do is I create the stories. Okay. I'm the guy behind every story. And for whatever reason, him and I click perfectly, I say, here's a story, and he'll Belizeans don't like this, so Belizeans like that. Bear in mind, I'm a Belizean, but I've been abroad forever, you know.
Yeah.
So, but my age have taught me over the years that to tell a story that's Belizean, you got to bring a modern twist to it and an emotional impact to it, so the world can see that we're not as bad as you think we are. One of the things that Belizeans or what we won't do is make movies to defile our country. Not about that. We will do some stories that are important to make a point, but we won't defile it. We won't make us look like we are the crime-riddled country of the world. No, you know, but we'll tell some stories about crime. You know, we'll tell some story about sexual abuse or, you know, whatever it may be, you know, but we won't make it be Belize is this, you know. So it's easy. The production part of it is really, really easy. And one thing I want to let you know, sir, is that the process is simpler than people think, you know, but you have to give yourself a chance to come in and see. You mentioned earlier about casting for our feature.
Yeah.
I want everyone to every actor who thinks they're an actor or who believes they look good, wants to be an actor, you know, to go on our Facebook page, you know, Beeswood, and submit your application, you know. Yeah. And you'll be amazed at what you can do, because we found a lot of talent. You see Miss Obispo of Cherry Jungle. She's part of, as you probably saw, she's part of a cast of Countryman. Yeah. You know, and we don't want the same faces to be shown out there, because there's other faces that are afraid to, that want to come through, but they're not getting paid, and we pay. First and foremost, we're going to pay you, and we are Studio S quality. That means we do catering, we do the craft services, we do the security, we do the medic on board. We do everything that's Hollywood. So when production does come from LA or wherever it comes from, you are familiar with the process.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And of course, we're COVID free. We're COVID safe. You know, we do this social distance and temperature. We do all of that.
So you are at this time, you have a casting call ongoing for
Yes.
Culture Clash.
Yes.
Tell us about the story.
Well, I have the best of all these worlds, because my mother is Garifuna, my father is Creole, but I don't know.
That's a story. Yeah.
And I don't know either one of the cultures, you know, but I've been very, very familiar with the Garifuna side, right? I have a lot of Garifuna friends and stuff and love them dearly, but I also have Creole side. But those who don't know I'm either of, they talk bad about each other, you know. So one day, I said to somebody, this clash needs to stop. So it took me one day, and nobody believes this, to write Culture Clash. So Culture Clash is about, it's a love story, as a matter of fact, about this young man, Creole man, girlfriend man, who falls in love with this Creole girl. But this young lady has always been told about the girlfriend culture that, you know, they're no good, you know, so stay away. But she falls in love with this guy, and she goes back home and she tells her dad, and her dad's happy because she's at that age where she knows she could start to date. But she finds out that this guy's from, you know, girlfriend culture, and her dad and she actually went ballistic.
Yeah.
And she cursed him out in every language you can think about, every word you can say to a girlfriend person that makes them, you know, sad. But the story takes a turn when the father of this young lady doesn't know that her mother, his wife, dated a girlfriend man.
Oh.
So then it gets worse. And then what he didn't know also is that he's been working for a girlfriend man for the past 20-some years. Yeah. But the guy, he derailed his, what do you want, girlfriendhood?
Yeah.
He actually changed his name to fit into the Creole sector because of trying to get a loan from the bank. And this lady who he dated eventually told him, you can't be called Mr. Palacio, you just give your first and second name. So his middle name actually became his last name for the purpose of a loan. Oh, wow. So it takes a lot of twists, and there's a lot of emotional ties. And when I wrote it initially, I don't edit stuff. One thing I don't do, I never edit. I give it to my writing partner, and she does the editing, and she calls me back and she says, "This is great." You know, and it's one draft. I don't know why I'm like this. I do a one draft thing and I'm done, right? Then she will embellish on certain things because I love to get a woman's perspective on things. And she told me, she said, we got to do this, right? So when I read it afterwards, I ended up crying because it was really a very, and I didn't know that, when you write sometimes, I knew as a writer, you get involved with these things and you're just writing away. And when I read it, it actually hit home. And I gave my business partner, Tariq, I said, and he said, we got to do this,
Yeah.
It's funny, it sends a message to the girlfriend and Creole culture that, we need to stop. We're as George Price say, we're Belizeans, and we need to get along better. We don't need to be calling each other's name. There's too much other racism in this world that we need to deal with. Love each other, I mean, 10th of September, 19th of November, collaborate.
It's also uniquely Belizean, putting together that historical clash that used to exist, and maybe there's still remnants, there is still remnants of it today, but putting that in the story as a part of the plot, it also, differentiates the film entirely as Belizean.
Exactly. Yeah. And we want, the world is ready, been ready for Belizean content.
Yeah.
And trust me on this, when they start to see what we're doing, and I don't want it to be a Beeswood thing doing, I want it to be a Belizean thing doing, because I encourage other production companies to talk to us, hey, I have a story, what can we do to help? But the bringing Belize to Hollywood is not a Beeswood thing, it's a Beeswood portal, So let's go. Yeah. Let's take this journey. Let's let Netflix and Hulu and Amazon see what we have to offer, and then let's get paid and make another one, or make another 5 or get actors involved. Let's get. One thing I want to say that I want a lot of actors to know out there is that we want actors to come on board and say, if you work on a feature, work on something, we want you to go through and get the benefit of it, because every actor in America gets residuals. Every actor has an agent. We want to get to the point where we can do that when American casts come down here and they see us, they can have to go through somebody to put the proper paperwork together. So our actors get paid and get paid for the rest of their lives. We need to get to that point, because it's not fair for you to get a quick $5,000 and you think you just won the lottery when they're making another $100 million on your talent. That's not fair. Yeah. And Beeswood want to be part of that protection also. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that we're doing to let people know that we want this industry to be strong on every level. We want lawyers to come on board and understand that you have to protect these guys, and we need that. It's very, very important that they understand that.
Yeah, and it's important because, that's the business side of the industry, is something that also needs a whole lot of development here, as well as the creative side.
Yes, of course. And we want, when you submit a script and your scripts are good, to go through the proper channel with the Writers Guild and make sure it's submitted and stuff, and make sure that you have these things. When somebody buys your script, they don't buy it because they know that it's from Belize, but they know that it's under the umbrella of Beeswood, and they can pay the $150,000, $2 million for a script, because scripts are needed right now. Yeah. So if you have good stories and stuff, we encourage you to write and then try to get with us so we can, we can aid you along the way.
Now, when people who are watching right now are thinking, well, I would love to try to act, but I have no experience, what do you say to them about coming out and being a part of the casting call? Is there some kind of training or assistance, or do you have to come with that natural, automatic talent?
Everybody's an actor. First of all, we act every day. Don't be afraid of the camera. Just come and try it. We will let you know if you have it or not. And some people don't get it until later on. There's a lot of actors in the States, as you've seen, who've been in things forever. Yeah. And just one day they hit the big one, and some are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, you have to have a passion to learn, and eventually we'll have the coaching, the acting thing. Eventually you have that, but come with your natural talent, so far I've been here for 2 weeks. I've met so many actors that it's been amazing. Yeah. And they don't even know. Yeah. But we have Tariq and Michelle have this wonderful gift and to see how good you are, because we'll see that you're, and we'll work with you. The young lady that you see, the kid, she was 6 when you first got her, and she blew everybody away. We had first thing I want to say is about Countryman is that we've showed it to people in the States, and it's not the full thing yet. This is just the rough cut, right? And the response that I've gotten is more anger, pleasure, they say, well, why is this guy firing this guy? Who is he? And they take it personal because what we do, what Tariq has done, all credit to Tariq, is he made it so believable that it just is incredible. I've seen people cry when they watch it. I've seen people get mad at me because I wrote it. You know, so you know you're touching into things that are and Gillen, he does an amazing. Mr. Rowland, he does an amazing job. He is and of course Tremet. I know you guys know.
Well, we know Tremet, of course.
Tremet, I've never met Tremet. Never met him. But every time I go somewhere and I talk about him, everybody knows Tremet, you know. Everybody knows Gillen.
You can use him for your first musical too. Great singer.
Oh yeah. No, I hear he's a great singer and stuff. Everybody talks about Tremet, you know, but Gillen is a phenomenal actor. Tremet is as well, Miss Obispo, the young lady you see there. We've met some great people, and because of this man right here, you know, Gillen is an incredible. He knows everybody. He knows everybody. But
the details for the casting call, I don't want us to lose that opportunity. People may be watching and say, I want to be a part of it. I want to give it a shot.
Yes.
How do they get in touch and how do they put themselves forward for the audition?
Facebook.
Okay.
We're there.
Yeah.
Go on Facebook. If you go on our website, there's phone numbers and there's we have set up where you can reach us however you want to, you know, except for smoke signals. We don't get that yet. But we're easily accessible, you know. And when I'm out there and stuff, I walk around the public and I give out cards constantly, and I say, just, you know, share and like, you know. What people don't know is that the more they share and like our page, the more Netflix is looking. They're saying, wait a second, these guys are doing something different, you know. And we need the Belizean population to follow us with a passion and like and share and dislike if you don't like certain things, you know, and comment on that, you know, because with these portals out there, with Netflix and everybody else, they watch who's watching you, you know, and that's important for them to know. And it doesn't take much. Click, share, like.
All right. So the casting call is still ongoing, and people can make their submissions.
Yes. We just got something to do for a company, and I'm glad that we did because we're not getting the response that we thought we would have for casting. So we're actually doing a reading on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
Okay.
So
what is the reading for non-business, non-Hollywood business people?
No, it's for this movie.
Yeah.
And you can go up there and Michelle will take.
So you'll give them the script and they take their shot.
Yes, and they come through and they do their thing, you know.
Nice.
And we encourage, if it's from age 65 to 6.
Okay.
Yeah, we have.
How many people are you looking for this movie?
18, I believe, or more, because there's going to be a lot of background. I need to put a plug in here for somebody because we're going to utilize his organization. Pele Martinez, soccer phenom, humanitarian out of this world. He's a young kid. He's 23 years old. He has his foundation that he just came from the States, and he's starting here in Dangriga. We're utilizing some of his players as part of the movie, and and Daifa, Maurice Herrera, them also. So we've touched base with a lot of people for this movie prior to, and they're on board. You know.
How many main actors do you need?
12.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 12. There's the leads are 6, but 12.
But at least 12 will have active speaking roles.
Oh,
yeah.
It'll be more than that, to be honest with you. But I say 12 to play safe right now because there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of messages and a lot of emotions, you know.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing more coming out from Bizwood, and you know, whether it's going to be the dramas as you have with Contraman, or if it's going to be full feature films. We definitely wish you the best of luck. Belizeans are talented, and I know we're great storytellers too. So you know, you give them that opportunity, and they will be able to excel.
Yes, we're looking forward to the work because there's a lot of stories to be told, and I'm excited. and thank you for having me on board today. I really appreciate you guys.
All right, and so there you have it. You can look up Bizwood, BZE Wood, on Facebook. You can also find their website, and you can get all the details about the casting call and how you can get involved. Roy, it's been great to meet you.
Likewise.
And best of luck, and don't forget to come back when things start to get rolling.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break now. When we come back, we'll be talking about International Day of Yoga, so stay tuned.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Es un hecho. Únicamente con Smart obtienes todo realmente ilimitado. Solo con Smart obtienes datos ilimitados en cualquier momento. Mientras que con el otro proveedor solo son datos dobles los fines de semana. Con datos ilimitados todos los días no hay necesidad de esperar, así que es un hecho que nuestros planes ilimitados superan a la competencia. Por lo tanto, no permita que le digan cómo y cuándo usar sus datos y obtenga llamadas, mensajes de texto y datos ilimitados. Vive la verdadera experiencia de planes ilimitados con Smart. Es un hecho. Haga el cambio y viva Smart.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Been drinking all night. Feeling so high. Better not drive. Won't even try.
Been drinking all night. Feeling so high. Better not drive. Ain't gonna try. Been drinking all night. Feeling so high. Better not drive. Ain't gonna try. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. People die every day, I'm not going with ya. I'ma find my own way, I'm not going with ya. It's okay, I'll wait. Even good people make mistakes. I don't wanna realize when it's too late. Drinking and driving is never safe. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. Been drinking all night, feeling so high. Better not drive, ain't gonna try. Been drinking all night, feeling so high. Better not drive, ain't gonna try.
And we are back. And if you're joining us right now, we're just getting our third conversation for this morning started, and we're talking all about yoga. The 7th Annual International Day of Yoga is coming up on June 20th. And joining us to talk all about it, we have Michelle Williams from Om Shanti, Belize, as well as Keisha Arzu, who is a Rhythm of Change ambassador. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
And we've also got some other guests with us. Do you want to introduce some of our junior yogis?
This is, well, Keisha can introduce.
Say hello, my name is Gia.
Hello, my name is Gia. Good morning, Gia.
Hi, Gia.
My name's Aliyah. All right. Good morning, Aliyah.
All right. And
Wait, let's interrupt this catch-up session here before it gets out of control.
Right. And, you know, so we're talking about the International Day of Yoga, which is upcoming. This is pretty interesting. I practice yoga, and a lot of other people do. And so, Michelle, why don't we start and just talk about what the International Day of Yoga is all about?
Well, it's actually a day that's been recognized by the United Nations on June 21st, which is the summer solstice. And it was actually lobbied for international recognition by the Prime Minister of India. And so in 2015, it was declared that on that day would be the International Day of Yoga. And since then, globally, we get together, countries get together and organize themselves and celebrate with a specific protocol to celebrate the myriad of benefits and healing attributes that come with yoga. And it's been a beautiful journey of growth for Belize and really for the world. And I think coming out of these past maybe 2 years, it's so important now for us to get together and to really practice self-care and healing. And of course, yoga is really a complete practice. So it's very fitting.
Yeah, you know, the fascinating thing is that as much as we have been isolated over the past year and a half, people have still been keeping up with their practice. I know, Michelle, we've spoken before that you've moved to online platforms, a little bit in person with smaller groups. Talk about being able to help people stay in touch with their practice during the pandemic.
Was that for me?
Yes.
Okay, the internet is going in. Well, it's been really important, and I think we had to learn to step up and kind of like step into the need of the hour, which was really to organize ourselves around virtual classes, and so that's taken it a life of its own. And there's some people that actually really appreciate that, because it means that they're not as rushed having to go from work to home to change to go to a place, so that they can actually relax more and then, you know, do their classes in the comfort of their own homes. And so that is for a certain specific set of people, but there's also the people that really want to connect on a personal level and to have that one-on-one feeling. So when we were able to social distance and have classes again, there were definitely some people that were really ready for that. But you know, life is about change and stepping into change and being comfortable with change, because if we don't kind of maneuver with change and move gracefully with change, we kind of suffer. So what this period has done is really, and it's opened doors for a lot of us. You know, we're able to access students now globally. So I have, during my virtual classes, I have people from all over the world, and it's nice because then they can connect to Belizeans and they can find out the Belize. It's kind of in a beautiful way, it unifies, even though we're kind of separated. We don't have that physical touch. Yeah. So it really has been a period of growth, a period of expansion in that respect, and a period of really letting go of what we think everything should be like. Allowing the opportunities that come with the challenges to, you know, help us to grow. So, yeah. And that last year we couldn't gather for International Day of Yoga, so they were just classes online. And this year, Belize decided, you know, we were going to gather. We have the capability to gather social distance, but we're going to gather. We're going to come together. And it was possible for 3 locations to do it together. But International Day of Yoga is a very special day, because for us teachers in Belize, and I'm only speaking for Belize, for the Belize location, it's the day where the teachers come together without the business of yoga. You understand what I mean? It's we all unify under the Day of Yoga, and we share what we love in a unified way, and that's really, really special, and it's really beautiful, and it's our opportunity to catch up with teachers that are friends that we haven't seen because we're too busy during the day doing the business of yoga. And so I'm really quite touched that we were able to do that this year again, at least in 3 locations.
And Keisha, what does International Day of Yoga, what's the significance of it for you and your experience?
Is she with us,
Keisha?
Do
we have Keisha?
We may have lost her. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we've lost her. So we'll see if
that's
she can.
That's a shame, because Keisha is actually she's quite a very powerful healer. And she went to SVIASA University in India. She was one of the scholarship recipients that went and studied at that very prestigious university, yoga. And she's come back now. She's a Rock ambassador, and she has her own spa, holistic healing and spa services in Placencia. And,
so she'll be heading up the Placencia celebration.
So she's a part of the Placencia celebration, with Bryce and Stephanie. They're all getting together and offering a beautiful class in Placencia. I just wanted to get in all the information for the different locations, because we have different times
Yeah, it's there on screen. Yeah, it's on screen at this time.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's on the screen? Okay, so yeah, Placencia, they start at 9 a.m. and they are at the community center, and they're gonna have light refreshments afterwards. And then Belmopan, I'm so excited because Frida's organized it and she is really going full force. She's making it such a special day for Belmopan residents. It starts at 7 a.m. and it's going to be located at the Sir George Brown Park, but it goes way until 10 a.m. There's so much to do.
Nice.
You're going to have the practice, but then afterwards she's going to have vegan breakfast and vegan brownie bites for sale. Really delicious food so that people can get a taste of, you know, vegan food. And
wait,
then
you're not going to have brownie bites in Belize City? Because that was a part of the sales.
Frida because the bad but she honestly she put so much love into this event for the residents in the sense.
So Michelle, before because our connection is really spotty right now. Yeah, sorry about that. It's just there's a break in the transmission, and I want to ask one very critical question. We are, of course, dealing with the pandemic, and there are cases that are active. How are we ensuring that these activities are going to be done safely and within the COVID regulations?
Well, we're definitely social distancing. So for Belize City and for Placencia, it's outdoors, and we're going to really social distance. Also, we're asking people to bring their own masks, and of course, wear their masks. And in Placencia, they're really limiting the amount of people that can go because it's going to be in the community center. But again, I think we're even doing more than 6 feet. In Belize City, it's Marion Jones, and I think we're only going to be allowing if the max is 60 people. So and Marion Jones, as you know, is really big. So just like people are walking.
Yeah.
On when they're doing their exercising, they're walking, and there's some level of social distance. We'll definitely be keeping to that.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, and it's open to any and everyone. Is there a charge associated?
No, like every year, it's completely free. The event in Belmopan, they are offering the food. There will be a cost to the food. You'll be able to purchase your vegan breakfast, burritos and stuff like that, and the vegan brownies. So there's that involved. But no, there's no charge. We just ask that you bring your own mats. We'll be definitely adhering to the social distance policies, regulations, and also bring your masks. And we're going to be talking, we're going to have some speeches so people can really learn about the benefits of yoga. And that it's really not just a physical practice. There's a lot more involved. There's breath work involved. One of the good things about yoga in this time is that breath work is a big part of it. And the breath work that we do helps to actually strengthen the lungs and expand the lung system, which is really what we need in this time to deal and to work with the challenges, the respiratory challenges that come with COVID. So the breathwork practices are incredibly important, so people will really get that opportunity to learn how to breathe and things that they can do by themselves at home after.
Yeah.
Very important.
And what will the activities on the day look like? Like, do you have to be experienced in yoga in order to do it, or is it open to all levels?
It's open to all levels. We will have the postures that we'll be doing are very basic postures, but very powerfully healing postures. But they're basic postures. And as you can see from the pictures, the age range and body type and all that sort of stuff of people that come to these events, that have come to the events in the past, range from anywhere. I mean, we have from almost 90 years old to young ones like Aaliyah, all body types.
Yeah.
Everyone is welcome. Everyone will reap benefits.
Yeah, of course, men, women, and also, you know, I know very often, and I think over all the conversations we've had over the past few years, people start to understand that it's not just about flexibility, and it's not about contorting yourself into a pose, but more so just being able to kind of give the body that chance to stretch and do what works for you and is most comfortable. Michelle, the expectations for this weekend, are you hoping to get new people on board or just have a commemoration of people who love yoga?
Of course we want new people. We want everything. Why can't we have it all? We want new people to come. You know, our pool of yoga teachers is growing. It's growing beautifully. So there's a yoga teacher for everyone. And like I always say, find a yoga teacher that resonates with you, because then you'll stick with it. And so people can't say they can't find a yoga teacher in Belize anymore. We have so many and so many beautiful, beautiful teachers. And so, yeah, new people that have been practicing yoga for years and years, it's still relevant to everyone. It's just the first day or it's, you know, the 100th day. It's still going to be relevant. It's still going to be beneficial, and it's still going to be beautiful. Yeah. And one of the topics too that I think is really important when it comes to yoga is that it really helps you to deal with stress. Yeah. And we all know that this has been a very stressful time for many people. And it really, one of the things that comes with yoga and the consistent practice of yoga is transcendence, and transcendence of that negative mindset, so that you really, no matter what is happening, what challenges come your way, that you're able to see the beauty and the abundance in every given moment, that really helps to stabilize you so that you can maneuver through life elegantly, even with these challenges, even with these things that come up in everyday life. And it makes you appreciate the most simple things. So it's relevant on so many different platforms, really, really relevant.
And Aliyah, what is your favorite part of yoga?
Just the posing.
What's your favorite pose? What's your favorite pose, Aliyah?
I'm not really sure.
Oh, which one?
She likes to bend up all different ways, so I don't even know if she knows.
Which one are you working really hard on right now?
Not really sure.
Oh, I guess people will just have to.
She's sitting right now, her feet are all bent up, but anyway.
All right, so everything takes place on Sunday, June 20th. In Belize City at Marion Jones, Placencia at the Community Center, and Belmopan at the Sir George Brown Park. Michelle, we wish you the best of luck. It's a free event and a great opportunity for people who love yoga, want to reconnect with yoga, or try it out for the first time to take part in the activity. Thank you for telling us all about it.
Thank you, and thank you to all the teachers that dedicate so much of their time and their love to sharing yoga throughout the year. It's a real blessing for our country, and I just want to say shout out to all of them as well. And shout out to Keisha. I'm so disappointed you weren't able to share, but anyway, such is life.
All right, thank you, Mish. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.
"2020 taught us the importance of being connected to the virtual world, and NextGen is here to keep its commitment to you. Even if you're physically apart, NextGen keeps you digitally connected."
Okay everyone, thank you for following me today.
NextGen provides more than just an internet plan. They provide service plans that support all your online needs. Sign up today and get your NextGen's ultra high-speed internet service. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
Why, Tony?
Boy, kid, what you going on, man?
I actually come see you because I need to buy a stack of them plastic plates and cups for my grocery shop because I run low.
Boy, I stopped importing that thing since April 15th, you know. And I just routed the last batch, must be about like 3 weeks back, you know.
Man, do I usually have anything? What is going on?
Check this, right? That's a new law we ban all single-use plastics, so that the cups, plates, forks, spoons, and knives, all of that. Since April 15th, can't import none of them. Starting January 15, 2021, you can manufacture them. April 15, 2021, you can sell them. And after July 14, 2021, if you get catch with any other thing, you will get fined.
Me never know this. I guess I have to make some changes then. I have to make the customers know that anything not available. Anyways, bro. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Take care.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
And we're back.
Yep, and we're just wrapping up our show. We want to say thanks to all our guests. We had a lot of interesting conversations. Of course, the first conversation that we had was very important. We were speaking all about vaccines for children, taking a little break from the COVID-19 vaccine conversation, but it is a crucial reminder that you should get your children vaccinated. As you know, Dr. Rosado said, they do work and they have helped over the past century, let's say, because that's when most vaccinations started, that they've really reduced the amount of serious diseases worldwide. And so if you haven't been keeping up with your child's regimen of vaccines, it's not too late. If anything, call your pediatrician and ask for more information. But thanks to Dr. Victor Rosado for that first conversation.
And of course, we were happy to have Roy Turner from Bizwood on with us. And they are a film production company in Belize, and they are looking for actors. You know, we all watched the Netflix premiere of Tragic Jungle, saw our Belizean actresses on, I was going to say the big screen, but on our TV screens. And seeing just the jungle of Belize, hearing Creole, it was really amazing. And here we are now talking about another production that will be shot in Belize, talking about our cultures as well, and a storyline that will take place here. So find them on Facebook, figure out how you can be a part of this particular production. If you've thought about acting, if you think you'll be good at acting, or if you know you're going to be good at acting, give it a shot and see where it'll take you.
And finally, we want to say thank you to Michelle and Keisha for talking all about International Day of Yoga, which is coming up on Sunday, June 20th. They were speaking about all of the events which are going to be taking place across the country. If you want more information, of course, you can find them on Facebook. You can also look, there will be events in Belmopan, in Placencia, and in Belize City. So if you're interested, it's open to all levels. And all ages. So if you want to go out there, you can go and celebrate yoga. You might see me out there if you go in Belize City.
Going to ask.
On Sunday. So thanks to Michelle and for Keisha for sharing all about that.
You know, I think for people, you hear a lot about it. If you've never tried it, this is really the perfect opportunity. If you feel self-conscious, there are too many people there anyway, so nobody's going to notice, and everybody's going to be at a different level. So especially for first-timers, I think International Day of Yoga is a great day to give it a chance. It's It's not as hard as it looks. There's always an adjustment that can be made for your level, but most importantly, you're going to walk away feeling great, and we can guarantee that much. So that is this Sunday, Belmopan, Placencia, and Belize City. But that's all the time we have for today. Remember, if you would like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com.
You can find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYE Belize.
And remember to tune in tomorrow morning where we're going to have our Father's Day special. We're going to be celebrating dads, and go ahead and send us your shout outs, the pictures of your dads. We'll incorporate them into the show. We have a few dads who will be joining us on set, and it's guaranteed to be a really fun day. So don't forget to miss it at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.